As per YouTube's community guidelines states, these videos are for a 21-year-old audience and above. If you're underage, politely just go away.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I have got a awesome guest today. We've tried to record an interview last week or the week before, but I unfortunately stuffed up the recording, so we're back again. Aladdin from Khalifa Genetics, welcome.
How's it going, man? Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to do this again.
Yeah. No, we had an awesome chat the other week anyway. So yeah, I thought we'd kick it off by talking about well actually I asked you this at the end of the interview last week. I want to ask at the start, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to know. So obviously your most proudest strain would be Aladdin Kush, yeah?
Well, it's one of the ones I like, but it's not the one I'm the most proud of, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's not that complicated to create it. It takes time. You have to select, you have to create two very stable parental lines, but it's not the most challenging. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, the one I'm the most proud of is Frosty's Auto Freak because of all the crazy recessive genes we had to combine.
It looks like a crazy plant. It's definitely going to stand out in a crop. And as far as landrace, because I know you've been a part of landrace preservation for a while, and where even when most people are, I mean, we're living in a time where people don't even know what land races are. Do you know what I mean? Like all the young people coming up, they're trying to chase all the polyhybrids and everything. Um, what's been your longest journey? Like how do I word it? What is your favorite, not landrace strain, but like family that you really chased after?
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's so many different land races all over the world. Like, you can go
Yeah.
to Thailand, you get like tiger tail, squirrel tail, Mekong, and all of that. And then you could go to India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. So, where have you focused most of your landrace genetics?
Okay. So I really enjoy working with Middle Eastern hash plants.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is because I'm part Moroccan, so I really like to preserve what, my family, my ancestors used to work with, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they also are very interesting to grow because of their super early flowering abilities. And some of them, like the Moroccan Bildia, are semi-auto flowering. They've adapted to increasingly hot and dry conditions over time by developing the ability to flower sooner and sooner and sooner. And now the Moroccan Bildia is semi-auto flowering, which means that as soon as it senses some stress, meaning hot temperatures or the soil getting a little bit drier, they start flowering automatically. But
Yeah,
they're
that's
not like
awesome.
auto strains. They're not
Yeah,
like autos, which means that you can actually keep a mother forever by just trimming the root ball and topping off from time to time. If you do
yeah.
that, you can keep it forever. You can clone it, but it's still gonna flower. If you don't do anything, you keep it in a pot, even under 18 hours of light per day, it will flower at some point, right? So
Yeah.
you veg, but it wants to flower.
That's so interesting because, like, most people when they think of autoflower or even fast bud genetics, you know what I mean? They'd assume that there's like ruderalis or something involved in it,
Yeah,
but that's just it's
yeah,
the plant's basic instinct to survive. Yeah,
exactly. It's an adaptation to a particular environment. It's a
yeah,
survival mechanism because since it's gotten drier and drier over the last centuries in Morocco,
Yep.
particularly. If the plants are not able to reproduce early, they just die and they don't get a chance to make seeds ever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. Autos are different. They have the ability to auto flower, of course, but for different reasons. Because the summer is very short, in places like Siberia, the summer is
Oh, of
very, very
course.
short. Summer season
Yeah.
is short, and also the amount of light per day that the plants get in the summer is incredible because it's very far up north. So the days are very long in the summer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, winter comes like super fast. There's almost no transition. It goes from hot with long, long, long days to super cold in just like a few weeks. So the plants have adapted by flowering very fast as well, by auto flowering, but for different reasons. Not because the summer is too hot and too dry, but because the summer is very short. So those are different genes, but it's also very fun to work with. And I think
It's
autos are great outdoors in many places for many reasons. In places where it's really cold and they have a very bad fall season, then it
yeah.
allows growers to actually grow outdoors. Places like New England, Canada, places like the UK, it would be near
Yeah. Yeah.
impossible straits.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think it's so interesting because we try to learn as much as we can about weed, year after year after year. But there's just some things like who was it? I think it. Have you heard about that famous Italian guy that went to hash guy that went to India and showed them how to do chara and everything else?
You're talking about Frenchy cannoli, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I was watching a video on him, man, and he's like, it's crazy. At this altitude, this land race is giving off a sativa phenos. You know what I mean? Like it looks like a
Mhm.
sativa plant. But the further they go up in the Himalayas, because of altitude, it becomes a more short, more stumpy sort of
Oh,
indica. But it's the
yeah,
same
that's
exact
true.
genetics. So it's just
That's very
adaptation.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
not only can cannabis adapt to its environment by changing its genes, its gene profile over
yeah,
time, over centuries, but one one plant, the same plant will grow differently according to where you grow it because of altitude, the UV light,
yeah,
the humidity in the air, moisture, everything is different, so the plant will express differently.
yeah,
So it's fascinating. It can adapt over time by changing the genetics little by little with
yeah,
mutations, but it
yeah.
can also adapt within just a few weeks by growing in a different environment. It has the ability to adapt so fast.
Yeah, and I was seeing who was it? There was a report this scientist did about for indoor growers that use UV lights, you can actually get a completely different color variation in your
Mm.
finished product by the amount of UV you do and don't use. Um,
Yeah.
so we're really, it's so I'd hate to be a scientist doing this stuff, man, because there's so many exceptions to everything with weed. It's such a crazy plant.
Yeah, man, we've noticed that some growers, grow in our genetics,
Yeah,
which most of them are extremely uniform, so very predictable results. They will express themselves differently depending on the type of lighting they have. They use grow lights. And for example, sandlight, I've noticed that the sandlight fixtures
yeah,
cause the plants to express colors even more than usual.
yeah,
And HPS lights usually cause the plants to grow slightly bigger buds, and a little bit less dense than LED lights, and there's usually less color as well.
yeah,
So it really depends on so many factors, man. It's crazy. I don't know exactly the reasons behind it, but different light spectrums, different UV lights, and different little things can cause the plants to look different.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting. Like it'd be awesome to come up with a strain and then just pass it around the world and see what it comes back looking like. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
But so what do you think? While we're talking about landrace strains, what do you think now is the biggest hurdle or the biggest threat for landrace preservation?
That's an excellent question because cannabis used to be even more illegal than it is today. Things are changing for the better in most countries, not everywhere, but in most places. So back in the day, I think the biggest threat was eradication campaigns.
Yeah,
You know, people trying to suppress cannabis, trying to, destroy the fields and make outdoor growing almost impossible. That was the main threat back in the day. Now I think things have changed in many places, and the biggest threat today is actually farmers wanting to switch to growing modern genetics to make more money in the short term, to get more yield, to get more trichome production, to make more hash, or to get like tighter, denser buds, because it's become some kind of like fashion.
yeah,
It's trendy to have like super dense buds with colors and stuff like that. And because of that, farmers have to feed their family. And for that reason, they grow more and more modern genetics, modern strains.
yeah, yeah. And I've seen. Actually, I was talking about it earlier. I was speaking to Prem Pavi about it as well, and she was mentioning that some farmers will grow outdoors in giant fields and have like 4 or 5 different strains going at once, and
Yeah.
it's impossible to keep a pure line. Um,
No, it
yeah,
flies very, very far.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Not only that, but their neighbors cannot maintain their pure landrace population either because
yeah,
it
yeah,
all
yeah,
contaminates. So yeah, if it's a very small amount, if it's very far from the next field, it's okay because the landrace genetics will dominate. So they might get watered down slightly, but the landrace material will still dominate. However, if it's like, many, many farmers starting to switch to growing modern strains, then it's impossible to maintain a pure population.
yeah. And I'm sure in countries like Morocco where they have such a, I don't know about now, but they used to have such a secluded area in the north, wasn't it? In the mountains,
Yeah.
you know,
No reef in the north.
yeah, you throw a bit of pollen out there and they're all in trouble. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and the fact that they've grown in the mountains for many, many centuries has helped, the landrace, the local landrace remain pure a little bit longer because, there are some valleys and peaks and that can block some pollen.
yeah, yeah,
So even if a lot of growers are now growing modern genetics, they've imported seeds from all over. Well, the old school farmers that are still growing in very remote mountainous areas, well, sometimes they don't get pollen contamination or very little because of the remoteness of the area and because, some like peaks might just block the pollen, or maybe they grow in a special secluded valley. So
yeah,
that can still help. That's why I was able to get some seeds back in 2018 and from, a place that was very remote. But yeah, it's become extremely hard though still.
oh yeah. And I think as things develop as well, like there's countries like, um, not just Jamaica, but Trinidad, was it St. Lucius? All those countries, they're really building up their cannabis industries, which is great, and they
Yeah.
deserve it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they've got these classic landrace strains out in Jamaica and everything, or heirloom strains, even like lamb's bread and everything, and they're growing them on mountainsides with 50 other strains. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
they're modernizing a lot of the industries now that it doesn't really need to be. You know,
Yeah.
there's room for landrace, there's room for heirloom, there's room for all the hybrids. I think something needs to be done soon because what you were talking about, I've been talking about it for a while. That when you said all the genetics are sort of bottlenecking, do you know what I mean? Like we're gonna throw 100 and 200 terpenes in the bin for like 10 or
Yeah,
5
exactly.
even. Do you know what I mean? So it's I think over time people will come around to it and realize it's not all about THC. It's about what the plant does for you. But hopefully it's not too late. Hopefully we don't lose too many good genetics.
Well, yeah, that's a great point because in places like Jamaica, Trinidad, and other places in the Caribbean and even South America,
Yeah,
a lot of land races, a lot of ancestral cultivars have already disappeared. They're already gone. So there's
yeah,
no way to grow them now, even if there's a demand for it, a growing demand for it, because like you can grow gelato anywhere. It's not
yeah,
that
yeah,
unique.
yeah,
Right? It's
yeah.
great. It's very good quality, but it's like, I mean, you're gonna want something different at some point,
Exactly.
especially if you're a connoisseur, especially if you want different effects. You're looking for unique terps. You're looking for a very different way of like feeling and experiencing cannabis. Then you're gonna want very specific, unique things. And people looking for the old school Jamaican lamb spread, they're
Yeah.
not going to want Jamaican gelato, right?
No,
But
no.
unfortunately, it's pretty much extinct now.
Yeah.
So it's already happened in many countries and places, but it's not too late in other places that still have ancestral cultivars being grown.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think there's a lot of the old school guys. Um, I was talking to him not long ago. I was trying to get an interview with him. I'm not sure if I will or won't. But I was talking to oh shit, I've gone a blank. Um, shit, can't believe I've forgotten his name. He's like one of the biggest names from to ever come out of Australia. Um, shit, not Neville. Well, Neville passed away. Uh, let's have a look.
You talk about Shanti Baba?
Shanti Baba. Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he had a video explaining, which was really interesting. That he's like, just because you went out and you bought, say you bought his White Widow, just because you went out and bought White Widow from so and so seed bank, he's gone. Doesn't mean you've got the real White Widow. He's
mhm,
gone unless they have the mother plant, the original plant to the
yeah,
strain.
yeah.
You're getting a variation of the real thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially if it's a true F1, especially when it's a true F1.
yeah.
There's no way to get the same thing, you have to, select different phenos, but I mean, there's no way to have an exact copy of it unless you have the mothers,
Well, that's
unless you have,
why I'm really
yeah,
interested in personally plant biotechnology with like tissue culture and everything else, because people think when you take a clone, you're literally cloning that one plant, but you're not. You're cloning every plant in its genetics. So you've got all the different phenos and everything else. It's never going to be exactly the same, but you're going to have all the variations that are in that plant. When you get a tissue culture, it is literally the same as the mother plant that you took it from. So, and I think also as far as preserving genetics, man, you could have like one small room, maybe a room that you're in that size right there could hold in
yeah.
tissue culture like a couple 100,000 different strains and
Mm,
store them permanently safely.
yeah, but you can save so much space with tissue culture. It's crazy.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
have a genetic library within a very small space. Whereas when you have to maintain mothers, then you need a lot more space. It takes a lot more care, a lot more
yeah.
time, and you can lose them. They could get sick. They could get viroids. They could get fungal diseases.
Yeah,
The lights can just yeah, stop working when you're away, or anything can happen, right? And
exactly,
then you
man.
lose. But tissue culture is I think it's a very reliable way to maintain genetics over time. I think it's great.
Yeah, yeah,
Storing seeds is great too, but like you said, when you have seeds, you're gonna have variations. You're not gonna have the
yeah,
exact same thing.
yeah,
Even if it's an IBL, IBLs are not as similar as clones. They're still gonna going to express variations.
yeah, yeah. And actually, while we're talking about that, with because I've seen that you were breeding some autos. Um,
Yeah.
is there much of a difference between, say, picking genetics for a photo period to an autoflower? If you just say you're trying to make IBL, would you? Is it? Everyone thinks about the mother, but so for an autoflower, would you be picking the father for the auto?
Excellent question. So, because you cannot keep a mother plant, right? You
Yeah,
cannot keep a mother. So, there's a few things you can do, but it's a different method. You can, if when you reverse your plants, you
yeah,
have to do it before you even know what they look like and how they'll express themselves once, it's the end of the flowering cycle.
yeah,
So you have to do it beforehand. You have to reverse your plants. So don't reverse just one or two. You have to reverse many. And then you can store pollen in the freezer, right? So you can collect pollen from all your plants, all your reversed females, and then you only keep the pollen from the best ones. So you have to observe them until the end. That
yeah,
way you can make a choice at the end and keep the pollen from the very best, and then use that pollen for making the next generations.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I talked about the donors. Now I'm going to talk about the receivers.
yeah,
Then you pollinate lots of receivers, not just one or two, many receiver plants. And then you only keep the seeds from the best ones, from the ones that expressed the traits you were after. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a very different method. You don't just get to keep a clone, you don't clone them and then work with the clones. You have to pollinate them, and then you work with the best donors and the best receivers.
yeah, 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 yeah. Because I think yeah, it's interesting because not a lot of people with photoperiod plants, they know they're always talking about mother plants. They're never talking about the donors. Um, but yeah, I've been thinking about it recently. I want to try and start breeding some. I want to get people back into heirlooms, man. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
we're
yeah, I
talking
feel you.
we're talking about like well, no, I could be very wrong, but we're talking about a way bigger commitment to make an IBL, a decent IBL. Do you know what I mean? Than all these autoflowers that come out, because it's really two generations, and you can kick an autoflower straight out the door, can't you?
Could you repeat that again?
So for an autoflower, you're really breeding two generations. Um, so the first generation will have the autoflower traits, but it might not show it. And then the second generation actually is the true autoflower, yeah?
Well, actually, yeah, the first generation. If you cross, if you cross an auto to a non-auto to a photo strain, then the first generation will not express the auto gene
Yeah,
because it takes two auto alleles to express the auto trait.
yeah,
So among your F1 plants, you'll have zero auto, zero.
yeah,
But they will all have auto genes, all of them.
yeah,
Though those genes are mostly recessive, mostly. But then if you make the F2 generation, you'll have 25% of your plants, statistically 25%, that will express the auto gene
yeah,
because they will have two auto alleles for that gene.
yeah,
The alleles are the versions of the gene. You need two alleles per gene, yeah?
yeah, yeah,
And you'll have 25% auto plants at the F2 generation. Then, if you select plants among those 25%, then for making the third, F3 generation,
Yeah,
100% of your F3s will be auto flowering. So,
yeah.
it takes more than just two
So
generations. It takes at
three.
least three if you want to get a fully auto version.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's if you cross your auto to a non-auto plant, meaning you have a great photos train and you want to make an auto version of it,
yeah,
then it'll take at least three generations after that to get the auto version of it, right?
yeah,
But if you cross two different autos together, then you'll get autos directly at the F1. So you can
yeah,
have auto F1s, yeah, but it's a different thing.
yeah. And I think I'll tell you what, it'd be awesome to make an order of that Moroccan one that you're talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's pretty much a fast bud anyway. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fast, but not for the same reason, right?
yeah,
Fast
yeah,
versions are crushed between a photo strain and a fully auto strain.
yeah,
And because the auto strain expresses auto genes that are partly recessive, not fully recessive,
yeah,
the F1 generation will flower faster. It'll trigger flowering a little bit earlier. So it'll be earlier flowering and faster flowering usually, but not auto.
yeah,
That's a fast version. But
yeah,
the
yeah,
Moroccan is semi-auto for different reasons. And those semi-auto genes are quite dominant. So if you cross a Moroccan to a photo strain, the photo strain will flower a lot sooner.
yeah,
For example, we made the desert skunk. The desert skunk is a cross between a pure Moroccan Bildia and an Aladdin skunk. Aladdin skunk is relatively early flowering, but not that early flowering.
yeah,
It
yeah,
usually
yeah,
very end of September, beginning of October.
yeah.
And the Moroccan finishes in August, end of August, beginning of September, depending on where you are.
Oh wow.
If you cross that Moroccan to the Aladdin skunk, then the F1 generation, the offspring, usually finishes flowering at the beginning of September, beginning to mid September. So it's a lot earlier flowering than the Aladdin skunk.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
And did it
like a
hold
fast,
a lot of the traits of the Aladdin skunk?
well, it kind of expresses both parents' traits.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's very interesting because it's got some skunkiness to it, but it also has the old school Moroccan hash vanilla flower terps from the Bildia.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because basically when you're crossing two parents, 50% of them are going to end up hybridized. Yeah, like carry both
Sometimes
traits of the
it's
parents.
sometimes it's a mix of both parents, oftentimes, but sometimes one parent can have very dominant traits and your offspring can be like almost like one of the parents
Yeah,
and not
yeah,
not get almost anything from the other parent. It's possible. So you never know. It
yeah,
depends
yeah,
on these are dominant, recessive, or co-dominant. It depends.
yeah. And I suppose like when you're going for basic traits, like for a beginner, if they want to start breeding, and they're looking for, oh, I want this color or I want this size, it'd be quite easy to do. But when you've got more advanced stuff where you're like, I want color, I want size, I want smell, I want taste. Do you know what I mean? That's a
Yeah,
really, really, really long process.
100%. The
Yeah,
more, yeah, the more traits you're going after, the more plants it'll take because it's a numbers game. And
yeah,
only a tiny, tiny percentage of those plants that you're working with will express all the traits you're after all together, right?
yeah,
That's why I talked about being proud of that Frosty's Auto Freak. It's because it's got the crazy freak show mutation.
yeah,
It's got the ability to auto flower. It's got the purple colors and the crazy loud terps that we liked. And yeah, many other things too. But yeah, it's crazy. The more traits you're trying to combine, the harder it gets. Exactly.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's where, it's almost like oh, anyone can kick out genetics, but like to get some of these more advanced stuff, it's almost like a form of art. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a science and it's also an art at the same time
Yeah,
because no two good breeders will get the same results. It also depends on your personal tastes. It depends on what you think people are going to like or what you vibe with. And yeah, and the selections will be different. You might not select in the same environment with the same conditions, and you probably don't have the same taste. It's almost
Yeah,
impossible.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So versions, when you cross your plants, you get to the F2 generation, which expresses the most amount of genetic diversity, the highest amount. Then you make the most important selection among the F2s.
yeah.
That's where you see all the different possibilities, all the different possible combinations being expressed, provided you grow enough plants. And no two breeders will select the same. It's impossible.
Oh yeah, and it's a lot harder when you're. I mean, just say you want to do it for the fun of it at home, which is fine, and I'd encourage anyone to because it's just interesting. Um, you're always limited by how many plants you can fit in one area. you know, for me, in Australia, it's still extremely illegal.
Yeah.
So most people in a home will look. I've known a lot of people to do commercial underground, and I've visited them and stuff, but I've never got involved with them because if you know how to do it from home and you can, what's it called, perpetually grow,
Yeah.
um, you know, you can go through quite a few plants. And now the autos are actually becoming a reliable source because I remember when they first came out, man, and I was like, wow, what is that? Um, Now, you can go through, like if you had what are they called? What's a good example? Um, like Huygen or the Strange Show or whatever. If you're growing autos, man, and you got like 410s, you're gonna go through like I don't know about you, but I last time I grew autos, I got 420 fast buds, and I just grew one different no, two of each strain in a 2.4 by 4.2, no, 1.2 by 2.4 meter tent. For
Okay.
people that count in feet, I do not know what that is. And I had like 10 different strains going in there, man, and there was plenty of room. You know what I mean? So it's good fun. Um, but yeah, for anyone that is new at breeding or interested in breeding, what would you say your biggest mistake was when you started? Like
Hmm.
things to avoid.
Okay, I would say if you have an amazing pheno, one stupid thing that I did back in the day would be to be extremely severe in terms of sexual stability from the get. So I would call out some amazing phenos just because they would throw one or two nanners at the very end of the flowering cycle,
Yeah,
eh, instead of just continuing the selection afterwards, right? I
yeah,
would call them out from the get, even though they were amazing. And
yeah,
that's something I regret, because I could have just kept working on the sexual stability among the subsequent generations, among
yeah,
with the offspring of that.
yeah,
But instead, I would just call them out right away, and I lost so many beautiful things that I could have stabilized, afterwards over time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and yeah, what other mistakes? Let me think about it. Hmm. Yeah, we're just wanting to, yeah, not working with enough plants and just saying, oh yeah, that one is great, but yeah, but it's just a small amount of the whole picture. It's just a fragment.
yeah,
So you actually need more phenos to make a proper selection and to choose the very best ones. So yeah, not working with enough plants, calling out some amazing phenos just because the sexual stability wasn't 100% from the get,
yeah,
things like
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, yeah. And if you were like, I'll be going over I was going to go over in January. I'm going to try to Thailand, where it's legal to do a pheno hunt. Do you know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah.
Um, what would you recommend for like what's enough? Do you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
if you're looking at a field of 5,000 plants, do you know what I mean? Like clearly you're
Great
going to find
question.
something.
Usually, the more the better, but only to a certain extent. Because if there are too many, you'll not be able to observe them properly and choose the very best ones because you'll be overwhelmed.
Yeah,
So yeah, usually 50 to 100 is good because you get to observe them, you get to spend time with them. Um, yeah, but then it depends on what you're working with.
yeah,
So if you have a, F2 seeds, there's going to be a crazy amount of genetic diversity.
yeah,
Usually, you're going to want more because they'll express many different combinations and they'll be very different from one another. But as you keep working the line, you don't need as many plants. So you can work, let's say, with over 100 F2s, but then among the F3 generation, you don't need 100 anymore because you've already started, creating something quite stable.
yeah,
And F3 generation, you might just want to work with about 50. And F4, you might be okay with just 35, 40. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's that's I think that's why what's actually really amazing. I'm going over to New Zealand in a couple of weeks, and they've just passed Parliament in New Zealand has just passed the law that any cannabis plant that has 1% THC or less is deemed as hemp. And in New Zealand,
Mm,
you don't need a license to cultivate hemp. Well, that means
yeah,
basically now these guys have a free reign of seeds, cuttings, anything,
yeah,
because
exactly.
it doesn't have the THC.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
it would be so awesome to get over there and have a proper pheno hunt, I think.
Right.
Um, but oh, there's so many places in the world. Have you seen how in Japan I think it's in Okinawa, they've got that many native landrace plants growing in the mountains that they have to burn them off every year and they still can't get rid of them?
Yeah, I heard that is highly illegal in Japan still today,
Oh, really
but I
illegal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they have some hemp land races too, hemp
Yeah,
cultivars.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of strains they have over there. You
yeah.
can tell me.
Oh man, I'm really interested as well because so my dad's Greek and I went over there when I in my teens and everything, and they have these I can't remember what the place is called, but they have these monks that live up in the mountains, completely secluded from the world, and these guys have been smoking weed up there for I don't know how long. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't think
Yeah,
anyone knows how long. So it'd just be awesome to find these little pockets in the world
yeah,
that time's missed to just see what are they hiding. You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, these are usually the people that can maintain and preserve landrace genetics the longest because
Yeah,
they live in remote, secluded areas. They have their own traditions that they've been preserving, and yeah, man, this is cool. I really hope that they still have some very old cultivars around there.
well, the thing is as well with Australia, if geographically, Australia is nearly the same size as Europe.
Mm,
We have every environment imaginable. We have cold, we have tropical, we have desert, we have everything.
yeah,
90% of the Australian population is along the coastlines. We have dense jungles and forests and everything in the centre, and especially up in northern Australia. Um, Man, there's got to be genetics out there that no one's ever seen. Do you know what I
that's
mean?
very possible. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially the tropical climate in the north. I think is perfect for sativa cultivars.
yeah,
So yeah, man, I'm thinking maybe some Aboriginal populations have been able to preserve some of them or
yeah,
work with them for many centuries.
yeah,
It's totally
probably.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Have you
that's
heard of that? Or
so I've hung out with Aboriginals. They call it Yandi. Uh,
okay.
Instead of ganja. or some do. There's different languages. Every tribe has a different language, but the slang word is Yandi, and yeah, they grow it out bush. A lot of when you go really far up north, when it's really tropical, it's
Yeah.
nearly impossible to get through budding without bud rot and everything else, just because it's so humid out
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
nobody's really taking a professional approach. You know what I mean? Nobody's building you could just build a little cool room. You know what I mean? But nobody's doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great point.
yeah,
You talked about, we talked about some language cultivars disappearing in many countries.
yeah,
But in some places where the climate is extreme, the only thing that can thrive, that can grow well, is landrace cultivars that have adapted to that specific place, specific environment.
that's true. Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. And it's interesting, not even with cannabis, like because Australia has so many bushfires annually, we have native plants in Australia that will only seed after they've been wiped out in a bushfire. So they
Yeah,
literally need to be burnt to the ground for the seed pods to open to regrow, which I thought was freaking amazing. And like
yeah,
if you think about it, all that ash just pumps the soil with potassium. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And yeah, no, it's interesting. But yeah, look, there's so many places in the world where it's sort of like I noticed you had. Did you have a Filipino strain?
yeah. We do. Yeah, it's out of stock right now, but yeah, and that strain has adapted to extremely humid conditions over
Oh, it
hundreds
would
of
it would
years.
have, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
and is
And
that
what's interesting is that when we started working with it, we've noticed a very, very low harm rate. A lot of people think that Southeast Asian cultivars always have a very high harm rate, that
yeah,
they have low sexual stability,
yeah,
but it's not always the case. So you never know. When you work with ancestral cultivars, you never know what you're going to find. And
and
sometimes we have to work for you have to we have to do many generations of reproduction runs. We have to work with them for many years to stabilize that
yeah,
sexual.
yeah,
uh,
definitely.
yeah, but sometimes right from the start it's actually sexually stable.
And I think a lot of when people are picking those plants, like um, I heard if they foxtail easy, they have a high rate of herming out. So
Yeah,
like this,
oftentimes, not always.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And with that Filipino strain, do you know what region of the Philippines it was from?
Yeah, kibungan.
Is that in the north?
I gotta look it up. I'm not
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I think it.
yeah. So I've
I
I've been I've been over there a few times, and the south is it's the Wild West, man. It's like
Yeah.
any bad thing. Actually, I don't even want to say it because this is probably on YouTube and on. But the T groups and the cartels and
Wow.
anything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Mindanao is the South Island, and by the way, they're beautiful, lovely people. Um, but because of conflict for so long, there are kilometers of jungle that have been untouched to humans. Um,
Wow.
and I read because I used to study horticulture. I read a botany report. This area opened up and the conflict stopped. This guy in 1 square kilometer found like 100 plants that had never been seen before. So
Wow. I'm
yeah,
guessing, because of their extremely harsh laws regarding cannabis, they have to grow in super remote places
it's
because that's the
weird.
safest.
It's so weird. So yes and no. It's the craziest place you'll ever go to. Like you do not want to be a foreigner in the Philippines and near any illegal activity. Having that said, you can get these tricycles. They're like little taxis, and the guy will literally have a weed leaf on the side of it, like, "Hey, bro, I got weed." Um,
Really?
yeah, 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 yeah. And because he's local and the cops know he's poor, he's barely getting by, you know what I mean? They'll leave him alone. Um, Especially in Baguio as well. Baguio is famous for their weed up there. And their oils. But yeah, you just I don't encourage anyone unless you actually know someone. You know what I mean? Like
That's insane, man. Yeah,
yeah.
on paper, they have like the harshest laws on the planet. It's like death penalty in some cases. But I'm guessing, if you're a local, if you know people, if you're well connected, maybe it's different. But
Well,
yeah,
their country got absolutely ravaged with amphetamines,
mm,
and because they're a poor country, they can't afford the more expensive drugs like cocaine that the cartels went for. So the cartels started pushing amphetamines there. They call it shabu. And the previous president, Rodrigo Duterte, most people outside the Philippines call him a psychopath. But you talk to any Filipino and they love him because in their culture and in many old cultures, the young look after the old. There's no retirement homes or anything like that. So he basically said, "You're corrupting my youth. You're killing my youth, and
yeah,
as a result of that, old people are lying at home starving to death,
mm,
and you're killing my elderly. So if I catch you with Shabu, he's like, there will be no trial, there will be no due process or anything. They just said that hit
wow,
squads. Um,
wow,
unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, like the higher guys got attacked, but unfortunately, everyday drug addicts got killed as well, which was the sad part. Yeah,
mm.
yeah, but no, very interesting country.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I heard it's very diverse. There are many different languages being spoken over there, and yeah, according to where you are, it's like completely different.
Completely. Even in Zamboanga, they speak
Yeah,
pure Spanish. That so
wow,
yeah, so Spanish is a building block of Filipino, but in Zamboanga they just speak Spanish. So in Mindanao they speak Bisaya. In Cebu they speak Cebuano. There's like 100 maybe languages, and you're right, they all sound completely different. The main one's Tagalog. Um, I went over there a few times and I started learning Tagalog and I moved around. I'm like, oh shit, they don't understand a word I'm saying. Um, yeah, but yeah. Look, that's definitely one of the countries I want to add onto my list for traveling for cannabis. Maybe when the
all right.
laws change a bit. Um, like I'm not gonna lie, when I'm making so I'm starting to make a documentary series. I'm definitely going to be recording some illegal activity. But I don't
Mm.
want to put my life on the line like that. Do you know what I mean? So
Yo, yeah.
so there's things you should do and there's things you shouldn't do in front of a camera.
If you know the right people, I guess you'll be okay. But yeah, if you just go by yourself without knowing the people there and you start filming,
uh
I don't know about that.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's a lot of laws changing now. I'm excited about Germany. Um and I think there'll be a shift
Mm.
because everyone used to always look to Amsterdam or Amsterdam and Spain, like Spanish Cup was always been a big thing, and Amsterdam Cup, but now there's Germany, Czech Republic,
Yeah.
so I'm interested to see in the next like 5 to 10 years what's going to happen.
Well, it's pretty much impossible to know because the laws can change very fast. But I don't see Germany making cannabis illegal again because it seems to be working very well. They've established something very professional, very strict, but it works well. It's not
Yeah.
as messy as the laws are in places like Spain, where it's still a very gray area, and a lot of clubs are being shut down. So they're being tolerated sometimes, and then sometimes they get shut down all of a sudden. But in Germany, it's way different, right?
Well, the Germans
And
they seem to plan stuff out well, man.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they've done a lot of planning before they started, so that's probably why. And it's definitely taken over now. You know, Spanibus is well, it used to be in Barcelona. No, now it's in the Basque Country, but it's
Yeah,
not what it used to be, and
yeah,
it's harder to get to. So there are not as many internationals as there were in Barcelona before. It's
yeah,
way different. And yeah, there's two big events in Germany, Mary Jane and Canna Fair,
yeah,
and these events have really taken over. And I think a lot of people that used to go to Spanibus now go to one of the biggest German events. And even the one in the Czech Republic and Prague, Canafest,
yeah,
has become a very big event too. And what I really, really liked about it is that it's not just a smokers event. There's like everybody there, grandparents, kids,
yeah.
everybody, you know, because
That's
it's
cool.
about the plant. It's not just about smoking, it's about so many different aspects of it. So I
Oh,
really
look,
like it.
for me, like when I was younger, man, I was all about smoking. But like when I became a dad, there were years. There was like 2 3 years that I didn't even smoke any weed, but I still grew it because I love the plant. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Growing is the most addictive part, man, to be honest.
oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah. I don't understand when people
Oh yeah.
say, "Oh, I'm addicted to smoking." I'm thinking, "Wow, stay away from the hard drugs." But
Yeah.
but yeah, look,
Yeah, dude, 100
it's one of
because
those
it's always a
things.
different experience.
Exactly.
You know, it always like well, unless you're growing the new hype strains, which almost always grow the same way. If
Yeah.
you're growing, Landraces, old school cultivars, heirlooms, then it's always a different experience. It's so fascinating because you get different terps, different structures, different flowering times, different effects, colors,
I
leaf
I put
shapes,
I
everything.
I put some pictures up in Prempa V's app thing that she made, and I grew some Malawi landrace a couple of years ago, and man, they had
Yeah,
like when the budding sites just started forming, they had these fluoro pink hairs coming out. They looked. I've never had pink hairs like I mean literally fluoro hairs coming out, and as they matured, they turned purple. And I thought, man, that's so cool. I would never have seen that unless I tried out the Malawi, landrace.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so it's just, yeah. Look, for me, I see all the new strains coming out, and a part of me is like, man, that looks frosty as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
trying that. Do you know what I mean? But
I mean,
really, the,
they look amazing. It's great for taking pictures and all that. It looks beautiful.
oh yeah, yeah,
But it's great, but there's way more to it.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's all the new strains these days are either fruity, gassy, sort of flavors. Everyone's going for sweetness and everything like that. Um, there's yeah, I'm very interested to find out what's outside of that sphere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I think one of the reasons why modern cannabis is so similar is because of that. You know, when breeders know that something is very trendy, they'll focus on that so that they can make money, so that, they know they'll sell their seeds.
yeah,
And because people are only going to be asking for gas or fruit or whatever. And because of that, they'll call out everything that's not, that. And over time, there's no way to get back to these old, strains that used to express all these different terms because they're gone. And then you have to work with what you have. But among the modern gene pool, the gene pool is very, very narrow, and
yeah,
there aren't as many terp profiles and effects as you have with old school varieties. And if you're just using cup winners and crossing those cup winners with other cup winners, then the bottleneck gets even worse.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think there was an interview that who was it? It was David Bowie. He got interviewed years and years ago talking about the music industry, and he was saying basically, I don't make music for the listeners. I make music for me, and because I'm making it for me, and I know what I like, then it reflects and other people enjoy it. The moment I start making what other people want, he's gone. Then it's more of a commerce. It's not
Yeah.
an art, and it's the same with
Yeah.
genetics. Yeah,
That's exactly the same thing, man.
yeah,
Yeah, some people are good marketers. Some people can actually cater to what sells the most and what's trendy. But
yeah,
other breeders, some passionate breeders, they can't do that, me included.
yeah,
Because I mean, I can't sell something if I don't believe in it, if I don't vibe with it. And it's like people are gonna feel it, you know, people are gonna feel it. If
yeah.
you're doing something for other people and you don't like it yourself, I think it's gonna show in many cases.
Yeah, yeah. And I think because people are really focusing on what the consumer wants, like I was talking to a guy even in the medical industry, and he's like, man, if my strains don't hit 30% on paper, he's gone, people will not buy them. So everyone's focusing on high THC strains,
Mhm.
they're focusing on bag appeal, you know what I mean? Things that do not make sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we're really giving the
It makes
steering
sense, but
wheel.
it's highly illegal.
Hey,
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense during prohibition. When it's
yeah,
highly illegal, it makes sense.
yeah,
But then, you know, when there's a legal market for something unique, for something refined, for something very rare, then it doesn't make sense anymore.
yeah,
And
yeah,
what I'm thinking is that because it's still mostly illegal in most countries,
yeah,
unfortunately, most, not all, but most breeders are still focusing on that.
yeah,
But in the future, they're gonna want to have unique things. It's gonna become more and more important. And that's why it's super important to preserve lane races now before it's too late,
exactly,
because I'm almost sure that there's gonna be more and more people looking for that old school experience, looking for these very specific traits, whether it be for smoking or for mere usage. I mean, I think it's going to become more and more important.
yeah. And I think, look, people push so hard for medical to be a legitimate thing, and if you really think about it, if the medical industry is just copying the recreational industry in many ways and limiting the amounts of genetics that are going in, it's like, well, man, you guys were the ones that said this can cure this, that, and the other. If you're throwing 90% of the genetics in the bin, how are you ever going to know? You know what I mean? So, and plus for me, I've spoken to illegal growers,
Yeah,
I've spoken
yeah,
to medical people, recreational people. For me, I don't like medical. I don't even like recreational. I just think that weed's therapeutic. And if you having a joint at the end of the stressful day, you know, that's therapeutic to me. If you've got inflammation issues and you need
yeah.
CBD, that's therapeutic too. You know,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. And there are different strains, so different strains for different people, you know?
yeah,
So for some people, something's going to work very well, but something else is going to be horrible. You know, for example, I don't know, some autistic people on the spectrum will like certain strains, but others may make symptoms even worse. I have a
yeah,
friend who's on the spectrum, and for him, tropical sativas are like fantastic. They allow him to function and be normal,
yeah.
and some other strains may make things even worse. So it's a case by case thing. And when they come up with like studies to show that cannabis is bad, I mean, what kind of data do they have to say that? What kind of strains? How was it grown? Um, who experienced it? Right? There's so many
Yeah,
factors.
it's so
So yeah,
bullshit. And like the UK tried to come up with a way to test for roadside um, cannabis testing to see if people were high or not. And it's like, man, you could smoke a joint, I could smoke a joint, 50 other people could smoke a joint, and we will all be on completely different levels. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
it's not
And that's
alcohol.
why we need exactly, and that's why we need to keep that diversity around.
Yeah,
Because if we only have one type of cannabis, then yeah, a lot of people are not going to vibe with it. But if we have like thousands of different possibilities, thousands of different strains and cultivars, then a lot more people are going to be able to find things that work for them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a hard thing because a lot of the progress that we have made worldwide with different governments are purely money based. In a lot of the countries, they're not really trying to innovate anything. So
Yeah.
it's going to take a long time. Um, but yeah, as long as there's people like you and other people making an effort to preserve land races, I think we'll be fine. But it's just,
Fingers crossed.
yeah, man. It's just how long are we going to wait, and how many things are going to be destroyed until then?
Yeah, and I think your podcast is very, very useful for that too, because it allows to educate more people. Yeah, it allows people to really know what's out there and what they could be experiencing and why old strains are so important. It allows to spread the word.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're
yeah.
doing a great
That cut, that cut out just for a second. What were you saying?
what's going on.
Oh, there you're back. That cut out for like 10
Yeah, I was
seconds.
saying that your podcast is extremely. Oh no.
Wait, that's back.
I was saying your podcast is extremely important because it
Oh, I
allows to
appreciate it.
educate people, spread the word, raise awareness.
Yeah, I think the more people I talk to, hopefully the more people pay attention. And for me, I've noticed as well,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be the centerpiece of this whole thing. I'm just trying to bring like-minded people and educated people, whether that be academically or just smart people from the industry, to the public, because it's important. Like when I first started learning about growing, I learned from all those Jorge Cervantes videos that he made back in the day, and they were so important to
I
me.
remember that.
Yeah, yeah, that was like, for me, it was like that was my taste tester of knowledge. And he's like, you know, these are MH lights, these are HPS lights, and then I'd go off and I'd learn about them, and he to me he's awesome. Um, but yeah, I'm just hoping that I can bring as many people like that to the public, so they have a genuine chance. Maybe a younger person, hopefully 18 and over or 21 and over. Uh, thinking about it and want to get into it, or your everyday smoker who thinks they know everything and is really like, oh, maybe I don't. Man, I wish we had the audio from last week's chat. It was just as good as this week's.
Yeah.
It's been
Thank you so
it's
much for having me on, brother.
my pleasure, man. Thank
Keep
you
up
for
the
coming
great
on.
work, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
this very interesting conversation too.
yeah, yeah. It's like I every week I talk to someone new, and every week I learn something new. But honestly, I have genuinely watched a lot of your videos. I did learn, about Punnett
Thank you,
squares
bro.
and alleles and everything like
Yeah,
that from watching your videos. So
yeah.
yeah,
We
it's
try to make it simple so that more people can vibe with it and more people can be inspired, you
yeah,
know? So yeah, we try to talk about the basics a lot and then sometimes go into specifics a little.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, look. I'm definitely going to have to get you to come back on, and we'll instead of having just a conversation, I'll get you to show some people some stuff if you want. Because yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
awesome.
100%, man. Okay.
Well, thanks
Have a
again,
wonderful,
man.
yeah.
Have a great day or night. I don't know what it is where you are.
It's 12 noon right here. So
Oh,
yeah,
perfect. All right, man.
have
Well,
a good
thank
night.
you.
I'm guessing it's the evening where you are.
Yeah, I don't even know what time it
Yeah.
is. Okay, bro. I'll be talking to you very soon.
See you, brother.
Yeah,
Take
see you,
care.
bro.